Okay, we are going to prove to you that customer success is eating the world. Well, we've got some really fun sessions. This one in particular is near and dear to my heart. And that is, how does customer success have impact on the sporting world? Now that sounds like a bit of a stretch, but I think as we sit down and talk about this, we're going to find that there's more to it than you might think. So this particular session with a couple of unbelievable guest speakers is about how customer success is impacting the sports world.
Player evaluation and costs of players are a very important part of the sports executive job. With the advent of technology, we're all looking for key metrics to help us be efficient.
It's all happening at once, but without empowering our group, those things don't happen.
So please join me in welcoming to the stage the Executive Vice President of Baseball Operations for the Oakland A's, Mr. Billy Beane. And the GM of the world champion Golden State Warriors, Mr. Bob Myers.
Cause I'm really from Oakland now. Cause I'm really from Oakland now. Cause I'm really from Oakland now. Cause I'm really from Oakland now.
Okay, well, thank you guys for joining me and us. A year ago, I stood on this stage and said that was the best moment of my career, before, after, and forever, because I got to walk onto the stage to the last scene of The Natural with the music playing. And I claimed at that time that I'd never have a better moment in my career than that one, but I think this actually might be better. So maybe this is a theme that every year it's actually going to get a little bit better. So Bob, I'm going to start with you. This is a group of people who are mostly in the technology space doing what we call customer success. And I know a lot of these people personally, have been talking to them. And I'm just going to jump right in and ask kind of the burning question that's on everyone's mind, and that is, how is Stephenson?
You know what? I hope he's good. Last night after the game, we did not have any plan to play him as much as we did, but that was kind of a snowball going down a hill, and we didn't want to stop it. But he said he was a little sore after the game, but right when we're done here, if I can come back and give you an update.
Okay, that would be great.
Hopefully he's still sleeping, because he didn't get in until really early this morning. So.
Yeah, well, by the way, thanks to Bob for being here, because the game didn't end till 11. The press stuff probably didn't end till 1, so I think he got home about 4 o'clock a.m. So, but at least it was a happy flight, right? Right, Warriors fans? Yeah? We were staying up rooting, too. So one more question for you, Bob. Would you trade last year's championship ring for having Brad Pitt play you in a movie?
That's a better question for him. Would I trade the championship ring? Oh man, I probably would not. I think I'd keep the ring. I think I would. What would you do? Would you take the ring?
Hey, listen, I lived it. I don't need to trade anything.
Can you have both? Can I have both?
Somebody can have.
Yeah, right.
Both.
I think
Some people can have both.
Yeah, right. There you go. I don't know.
So Billy and I talked last week in preparation. I'll just remind everyone, last year the theme of this conference was Moneyball, and we had Michael Lewis here. So Billy and I were talking last week. And Billy, I just want to ask you, Moneyball is obviously famous, the book and the movie. Everyone knows it. The question is, does the impact of data and analytics continue on, or was that a kind of a blip in the radar during that particular time in the baseball world?
Well, this group will tell you it's not a blip. You know, me and Bob are spending a lot of time talking about right now. The one thing that's happened since the book came out, and one of the advantages we sort of had, was where we were with people like this in the room. And we're in the epicenter of technology, so we actually had access to data. And right now, it's just the amount of data is mine. We were literally just discussing this. And what we try and do is hire some really smart guys to sort of go through it. Some of it means something, some of it's just noise. Some of it is applicable to what we do, but I don't see any end in sight, which is great, because what it's created for our business, you know, we're in a very incestuous business. We sort of hire our own. You know, Bob's a UCLA guy who grew up playing basketball. I was a baseball guy, and now, because of data, it has created transparency and allowed a lot of really, really bright people to come into our business that normally wouldn't have had that opportunity, which is great. And the good thing from my end is that, all people in this room will trying to hire, me and Bob are trying to hire guys, and we're trying to hire the same people you guys are, but the great thing is they want to work for their favorite sports team for 20 cents on the dollar.
We have first crack.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, don't tell Nick, but Bob, if you offer me a job today, I'll probably take it.
See?
My asking price is $22,000 a year.
What is your skill set anyway?
So I'll pass that question to you, Bob. I mean, baseball has gotten pretty famous for sabermetrics and kind of this deeper analytics, and that's starting to evolve in the basketball world. Somebody in Houston, I think, got a little bit notorious this year for really maybe going too far. What do you see? Because this question is really relevant because we're in a data-driven world, and managing our customers is all about understanding data and when is the right time to touch them and who's healthy and who isn't and all that. So this concept of using data to improve your particular world is really critical, and I'm just wondering, how's it affecting basketball?
Well, we have a guy on our team that has almost uniquely changed the way the game is played, because he realized, and we realized, but more him, that shooting the ball where you get 1.5 times the point from a certain distance is much more efficient than even what was considered a shot 1 foot from the basket. So Steph Curry going 6 for 18 from 3 is as good as another player going 9 for 18 from 2. But that phenomenon is largely analytical in nature or data-driven, because for Billy and I, you view the game a certain way, you grow up watching things a certain way, maybe in your businesses, you perceive things a certain way, and sometimes the data is necessary to change and shift the way you think. And it's important because it provides evidence and objectivity to, in what we do, which is very subjective. People call it the eye test. And what data has done is it's removed some of the myths. Used to be the closer you are to the basket, the better shot it is. Well, you know what? I don't think anybody thinks that anymore. I mean, if you watched our game last night, the ability to shoot from distance is almost impossible to defend. It opens up everything, and the Trailblazers are as good as we are as far as bringing out the defense. But data will support something that you thought in your mind over 20, 30 years was the way to do things. Data can come in and really revolutionize the way you think. And it's hard for people to change. It's hard for people to change the way they think, especially about sports. So people hang on to their favorite team forever. They hang on to what they think is successful in sports forever. So data provides you with an ulterior way of thinking, and it opens your eyes. And for us, it's the same challenge Billy has. I can't walk down to our coach with 100 pages of data and say, here you go, Steve, implement this tomorrow night in Game 5. It doesn't work that way. But you can hand him a one-sheeter and say, you know what, we're much more efficient when we play the pick and roll this way, and their opposing players have to go to their left as opposed to right, and the numbers show that. That's powerful stuff that 5, 10, 15 years ago wasn't being done. So just like in your businesses, you may think you're doing it the right way, but there is no harm. There is zero harm in poring over the data and finding out if there's a better way to do it.
Your analogy you just did, Bob, is so relevant because the way that we used to do it as an industry is quantities of data seem to be the solution, right? So let's get a whole bunch of spreadsheets, pass them around, let all the CSMs do these analytics to try to figure out which customer they should be talking to. But a much more efficient way is taking that 100 pages of data, boiling it down to one set of tasks that need to be done with particular customers, much like you're doing with Steve. Don't give them the whole pile, give them the actionable items. And that's what we're all about, is how do you take action that changes the customer behavior in a positive direction. One of the questions I want to talk about, the world that we live in is this world of kind of optimizing for retaining customers, because customers buy software on a subscription basis these days. Billy knows this because he's on the board at NetSuite, but the subscription world is the world that we live in, and so retention of customers is very different than it used to be because you have to pay attention and get them to renew those contracts year over year. The very clear analogy, I think, to the sporting world is season ticket holders who have that same option every year. Do I want to continue to be a season ticket holder or not? So maybe both of you guys, one at a time, could talk about how you think about your season ticket holders. What things do you do other than try to optimize the team on the field to make sure that they continue to want to be part of that permanent? And Billy, why don't you go first?
Well, I guess the thing that makes most season tickets holders happiest is if you win. I mean, that's essentially our product. And you can't market a bad product or a bad team. And you got a club like the Warriors who are at the apex of their space. And and Bob will tell you, it's really easy to market Steph Curry and a great team. And listen, we've gone through a lot of changes here. One of our challenges here is that we're constantly having to reinvent our product. In other words, in terms of the team. So it's hard, the continuity is not there, which is important. Sports is unique because it's sort of a legacy business in terms of, like yourself, Dan, a big Twins fan and grew up idolizing me when I was playing for the Twins, right?
Yeah. 1987 World
Sure you did.
Championship,
Yeah, sure you did.
Minnesota Twins. Billy was on that
Yeah,
team.
sure you did. You idolized Kirby. I was sitting next to Kirby. So for us, the challenge is that we, it's because of that we're in a unique situation where we are. Certainly our venue is something that's been addressed publicly. So we're having a challenge for us is retaining those people who, again, it's a legacy business where people like to cheer for their favorite player sort of from the time they're 6 years old to 18. Our business, that doesn't happen very often in our business, and certainly not in the situation we're in. So for us, it's constant innovation, which is very challenging. If somebody told a tech company they have to reinvent their product every 2 or 3 years, I think most of them would be, it would be pretty hard to do. And so that's what's unique about our business, and I'll let Bob sort of address from his end.
Well, first of all, you have to acknowledge that we're in although we call it sports, it's entertainment. That's what people are doing. You're choosing to spend your money and be entertained, hopefully. And so first you have to understand that every part of that experience is important. How you buy tickets, how you get to the game, how easy it is to park at Oracle or hard. What happens when you walk in? Is they wanding you? Was that guy nice? Is it hard to get food? Is it easy? Do they serve your drink in a cup that you can actually drink out of? Do they handle the guy that's screaming behind you that's ruining your experience? Because Billy's right.
That's me, Bob.
That's Billy. Guys like Billy, we don't let in the arena problems. But winning is the number one thing, sure. That's what people show up to do. But what's the harm? Just like your guys' companies, whether you're at the top, middle, bottom, what's the harm in trying to be better at all the things you're even good at? That's what we're all trying to do. So for us, even though the team is achieving at the level they are, that doesn't mean there's not areas that we can improve in. And all of it is part of the fan experience. Why can't you, although Curry could carry it on his own, he's worth the price of a ticket by himself. But why not try to build a great team around him? Why not try to make it a great fan experience? Why not provide great food, great parking, a great live entertainment, so when a fan leaves our arena, yes, they're going to remember the most important actor in the play, but they're also going to have a feeling. And it's not so much even it's a feeling when we leave an entertainment venue that makes us want to go back. So that might be the uniqueness of sports. Hopefully you guys can provide a feeling, because that's what people remember, I think, more than whatever else they take from a company or an experience with a company. It's the feeling of going to a restaurant and going, yeah, the food I got was really good, but I want to go back and eat there again. And that's what we're trying to accomplish in all areas of our sports.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Loyalty is so key to our world as it is to yours. One of the questions I want to ask both of you guys is, how do you think about the brand loyalty, especially in a world, it would be a nightmare for us if we had to change our product completely every 2 years like these guys do. So how do you think about creating brand loyalty to the uniform or to the logo or to some affinity? Billy and I were talking about this. Sports is generational, right? My kids are fans of the Twins because I was a fan of the Twins. They were born and raised in California. So it's a really unique situation that you guys are in where you're trying to create brand loyalty knowing that the product is going to fundamentally change in the 2 or 3 or 5 year time frame. So Billy, share some of the stuff you shared with me when we were talking about that.
Yeah, and Bob made a good point too, is that you get fan mail, and inevitably sometimes people will have you talk about a restaurant, will have a great experience at a game, but that one person who maybe was a part-time employee, that maybe an experience that the first time they walked into the park, or maybe they couldn't find their seat and they couldn't get help from somebody, that sometimes will resonate more than the actual game itself. And when I was first here as an executive, I worked under Sandy Alderson, who was my mentor. And sitting next to him, that was always something, the quality control was something that was so important, that everything can go right, but if the smallest thing went wrong, that in itself will have bigger implications than the good experience. And it's particularly when you're not, like in sports, success is somewhat, is almost always fleeting. When we're in this job, and we were talking about last week, when things are going good, you're currently waiting for something bad to happen, and for us, the sort of black swan is injuries. Yep. Bob just lived it, with Steph Curry. The whole Bay Area held their breath, and, he's trying to sleep that night. And so for us, success is, I've always looked at, this is my almost 20 years being a general manager, and I've always thought things are never as good as you think they are. And on the reverse side, they're never as bad as you think you are. Yeah. Somewhere you have to have some sort of equilibrium. And when things are good, start preparing for something bad to happen. And on the flip side, when things are bad and the esprit de corps is down, that's when, our job is to make sure that everybody doesn't get too low. And for us, again, because of the turnover, and that's our business situation, it seems to come at about every 2 years for us.
Yeah. Bob, what do you think?
Well, loyalty, we're fortunate. I'm fortunate to work for an organization that there is a lot of built-in loyalty. Prior to being successful and prior to having a winning product, the fans in the Bay Area are, for basketball, and I think for a lot of sports, they're unique in their support. I grew up here as a Warriors fan. It was pretty much nonsensical for many years to be a Warriors fan. It wasn't really a rational thing to do. But that's my point. The point is, if you show effort and you show a willingness to work at it, you can keep loyalty, much like I think everybody here tries to do with your company. If you build up equity in your customers, they will forgive you to a certain degree. As long as you deliver, can't fail all the time. But if you show a willingness to deliver, our success now could last, even though we're not going to be great for 10 years, it could have a tail of 10, 15 years because of this experience people are going through. So for me, the loyalty component breaks down to how do you treat people? How do you treat your fans? How do you treat them via the media? Who's representing your organization? And for us, I feel fortunate to have a guy like Steve Kerr, he is arguably, to me, one of the most, if not the most important person in the franchise because he lasts. If you get a great coach, the Spurs have a great coach in Greg Popovich, that can last 20 years. That can last 30 years. Players don't. So when you talk about the changing team and the players if you have a great GM like Billy, if you find great ownership, if you find a great manager, a great coach, fans can hang on to that, right? And like a guy like Bill Walsh, when the players are going to come and go, that's part of it. But if you can find people in roles that are leadership roles that can carry the flag of the organization through the ups and downs, and that people can believe in, because now more than ever, I didn't know who the GM of the Warriors was when I was a fan. It's different now. They want to know that Billy's really good, or that I know that we're not idiots. We know what we're doing. People care about ownership at a different level. I just knew Joe Montana was Joe. I knew who those guys were. I didn't know what else was going on, but it's a different layer. There's the scrutiny is much greater. So in our roles, you have to realize that there's a responsibility when the team is not going well to continue to work so that the fans will be there and not waver, because fans don't want to leave their teams. I don't think fans are happy when they say, I'm done with that team. Yeah. That's a bad moment. They want to hang on. Like you said, the Twins. I mean, you don't live in Minnesota anymore, but that's your team.
Yep.
There's a pride in that, and so you have to almost go a long way to lose fans. But we're constantly thinking about how to keep our fans and get more fans, and that's the goal.
Yeah, I think it's a message in our space too, right? As difficult as our customers sometimes are, they really do want to stay with us if we can make it work. And there's always that underlying theme. There's someone there at all of your customers who really wants your product to work for them, even in the toughest of times. So I think we have that same kind of an idea where we need to figure out how to keep that going, and we need to kind of tap into that goodwill that we've built up. This is a secret of Apple, right? For many years, Apple didn't make a lot of great products, but they had built up all of this equity with their fanatics, and then one day they invented the iPod, and the rest is history. So you guys would have had a great treat, because Billy and Bob know each other pretty well, and so they're just backstage chatting, and I couldn't even get a word in edgewise. Would have been way better, right, if I hadn't been here and we could just listen to them talk. But I want to ask this idea, because they were doing this backstage. It was really interesting. Do you guys ever swap ideas? I mean, you're in different sports, but do you swap ideas?
Go ahead.
We do. And what's interesting in one of the conversations, we were sort of talking about this. When you're in this position, there's only one of you. And in some respect, we both said this, is that you get too much credit when things are successful and too much sort of blame. But that's the fact. And there's only a certain amount of people you can commiserate with. I mean, me and Bob, in his off season, we've gotten together for private breakfast and bouncing things off each other's, because a lot of the same challenges, even though they're different sports, they're the same. And I met Bob. The first time I met Bob was before when he was actually working down for one of the biggest sports agencies in the world. So I've known Bob a long time, and but there are certain things that only each one of us understands. Our assistants don't understand. Only people who hold this job. Yeah. So we do, absolutely. And my biggest regret is the seasons the way they are. We don't get a chance to hang out even more. I live in Danville. Bob's from Danville. He's a Danville legend.
Yeah. So I hear.
Easy. But no, we really enjoy each other's company. And again, the only regret I have is that our schedules are so busy that we don't get a chance to get together more often. Well, he's always offering me tickets. My son will literally hey, you want to watch the A's game? And no, turn the Warriors on, right? So, which is actually true. My daughter and son will sit through a Warriors game, but they unless Coco's hitting, they don't really care. So.
Well, if it'll help, we're happy to have you guys back every year to facilitate a conversation. Is that okay with everybody else?
Yeah, thanks.
So let's ask this question then. If you guys had to swap jobs today, who would be more successful?
I don't think I'm very good. I think Billy's good. I mean, they made a movie about Billy. I don't have any movies about me. They have a book about Billy. I get a little radio talk show once in a while. Actually, that's a stupid question.
My job.
He could probably do both jobs.
Actually,
at the same time.
I say this in all seriousness. One of the great things about Bob is that he's self-deprecating, and that's really one of the reasons he's really good at what he does. And one of the things, and I noticed as an executive, when the Warriors won last year, I mean, listen, it's hard not to get wrapped up in everyone telling you you're great. I've seen a lot of executives react to success, and nobody handled what they did with more sort of humility than Bob, and it's really one of the reasons he's great. So, but I still would be better.
Yeah. See, that's so the humility is that's fantastic. Oh man, that's good.
By the way, the little bit I've seen of both of you guys, it's true of both of you, self-deprecating and humble, and as kind of de facto CEOs, if you will, for your organizations. How do you get that humility, which makes you really likable as an organization? How do you get that to go down to the other employees?
Well, people just like you guys. I mean, the people in leadership positions, they're the ones we are so fortunate. Billy and I'll tell you what we did talk about. Having our best player on our team, Steph Curry, the humility that he projects is, one, it's real. It's not feigned. It's not fake. If a leader in your company can have humility and can take accountability, and especially when things are not good. When things aren't good, they're accepting the blame. When things are good, they're sharing the credit. And actually, why not be that way? We're going to get more credit. Like Billy said, we get too much credit for it. There's a lot of, we don't sit in a room by ourselves and make decisions. That's not how it works. Just like I hope the people that are running there, I don't think it's an effective way to manage to just make decisions in a closed-off door. And you talk about swapping ideas. Honestly, if Billy had a great idea that I didn't see about our team and it was the right idea, I would use it 100%, no problem. He doesn't have a basketball pedigree. Honestly, I think it's all about Billy, his team had some injuries last night. You will be humbled. You want to try to be arrogant in this business, you will be humbled. Sports will do that to you. So it's almost, a scary thing to walk around and think you're better than everybody else, because just wait a few days, or at least a year, it'll all come down to earth.
Yeah. Well, if the story's true, your coach took advice from the video guy on who should start a championship game.
That is my favorite. I know we're out of time, but you talk about leadership. What's leadership? Leadership is not having to be right all the time. Leadership is collaborating in decisions. And in the biggest moment of our season last year, we were down 2-1 in Cleveland without really any real answers as to how to make changes. And our 28-year-old, 6 levels below our head coach, says, why don't we go small? And start Iguodala, take Bogut out of the game. And that's a very rash solution for a team that had won 67 games, was the number 1 seed. And if it had gone wrong, you better believe Steve Kerr would have been raked over the coals. So what does he do? He listens, and he actually does it, right? So here's all the things that make a great leader. Listens to people beneath him, takes the action, right? Does it. It works. And he credits the person that gave him the idea. And here's what nobody else knows. If it had not worked, he would have said it was my fault. He would have said, not Bob's fault, I didn't do anything wrong. He would have said, I screwed up.
Yep.
I shouldn't have made the change. That's what leadership is, and that's why that story is a good one.
Yeah, it's a great story. So last question for you, Billy. Who do you think should play Bob in his movie?
Brad's still pretty good. I would take Brad, if he's available.
My wife suggested David Schwimmer.
All right, well, that's fine.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brad, David
Yeah.
Schwimmer, Brad.
And then, yeah.
Probably right. It's probably
All right. And who do you think should play me?
Oh, man.
Channing Tatum?
Yeah,
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay, well, we're out of time, but thanks again, Bob and Billy. This was really fantastic, a thrill for me, personally.
Cause I'm really from Oakland.